Listen to your favorite shows live and on demand 24/7. Download the 77 WABC mobile app now. This is The Other Side of Midnight with Frank Morano.
They're running a strange program, y'all.
Now, here's Frank Morano.
Good morning, Dominic Carter here with you on the other side of midnight in for Frank Morano. We have a lot of moving pieces this morning, this hour. The big story, it involved 24 people, 7 countries, 24 people in total, 7 countries. But after a historically complex, months-long negotiation involving all these countries and the prisoners, the Biden administration announced it had secured the release of 3 American citizens from Russia, including the Wall Street Journal reporter, Marine veteran Paul Whelan, and a Russian-American radio journalist. She is back with the 2 males, all arrived on American soil this morning. It was after midnight Eastern Standard Time when President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris were on the tarmac at the Andrews Joint Air Force Base and welcomed the plane as the 3 hostages arrived home. And a lot of reporters were there. And one of the things that came out, there are a couple of flashpoints news-wise that you're going to hear about for another couple of days. And a bit later in the program, I'm going to tell you about this program in San Francisco that if you're a drug user, San Francisco is willing to pay you $100 a month to stay clean. And I'm not sure how I feel about that, but we'll get to that in a little bit. And, of course, we are taking your telephone calls. So those of you on hold, we'll get to you momentarily. Stay with us. The number to reach me this morning, live, 646-720-0635. So one of the things you're about to hear how this actually goes down, where the president this morning is asked a lot of questions from reporters, and he's responding. And at one point, you're going to hear him address the issue of if he's going to stay in office. And he says, kid, you're stuck with me for the next 100 days. And then he clarifies his answer to 90 days. And so what you're about to hear is the president of the United States a short time ago. And, of course, presidential politics playing a role in this because the vice president, Kamala Harris, was there with him. And she even addressed the election. And so I want you to listen to this. And then I want you to hear a soundbite from another soundbite from the vice president where it's already all over social media, the word salad stuff, in terms of some of the comments that she actually makes. The number to reach me, 646-720-0635. President Biden, as the plane made it in, he welcomed the 3 hostages, the 3 prisoners, off the aircraft and then addressing the media.
What's your message to the American people?
There's nothing beyond our capacity when we act together. Nothing. Remember who the hell we are. We're the United States of America. The United States of America. We put back together relationships with countries that we haven't had before. We rebuilt NATO. We rebuilt the circumstances allowing this to happen. That's why it happens.
And Mr. President, should American journalists ever feel afraid about reporting abroad?
I think, look, no matter where you are, there's certain places that you're going to be afraid. I mean, the idea you're never going to be afraid. You'd never show up anywhere in the Middle East. You wouldn't show up anywhere in Russia. You wouldn't show up anywhere. It matters. It matters to be aware of what you're going into and not to take undue chances because I'm going to come get you.
Of your many achievements, where does this rank among your many achievements as president?
Well, look, this is, to me, this is about the essence of who we are as a country. It really is about personal relationships. It's about family. It's about being able to have access to the people you love and you adore. Imagine how you'd all feel if you were being held captive unfairly and you had children waiting at home for you. Imagine how you feel. How many of you have children? Raise your hand. Yeah. Okay. Imagine being sitting in a prison, not knowing you'll ever get home, and wondering what's going on with your children. How they go to bed at night crying. How they ache every night and every day you're gone. It matters.
Mr. President, we understand that very call that day. Prime Minister of Slovenia came hours before you announced that you were going to be leaving the 2024 race. Can you talk to us a little bit about how important it was for you to get this deal done, knowing that you were not going to seek a second term? Was it very important?
I still get it done even if I was seeking a second term. You're stuck with me as president for a while, kid. There's no way out, okay? You got me for at least another 100 or 90 days or so. So it didn't have anything to do with that. It had to do with the opportunity and trying to convince one last country to say, okay, they'll step up.
Mr. President, certainly this will now be cemented as a part of your one-term legacy. How are you thinking about the rest of your time in office? How are you?
Oh, we can talk about that another day.
President Chancellor Scholz's commitment to getting this deal across the finish line. Could it have been possible without that agreement that he made?
Mr. President, Madam Vice President, your reaction tonight.
It's a very good night. It's a very good night, and it's testament to the work that we prioritize under Joe Biden's leadership in our administration, which is the importance of building alliances, building the strength that we have through diplomacy to have outcomes like this. And there's so much at stake right now in our country and in this upcoming election.
And so there you have it, the president, and that actually happened this morning Eastern Standard Time after midnight, where the president welcomed the hostages, the prisoners from Russia back home. But of course, when something like this happens, the family of Mark Fogel, who it remains in a Russian prison, is heartbroken that he's not part of this, and his sister is somewhat bitter, stating we don't have the NBA or Wall Street Journal backing us up, and that's the type of things that happen. So the last deal included the WNBA star, in which at that point it did not include Paul Whelan, the Marine veteran. But this time it does. But there's always going to be somebody that's left out. Everybody can't be included in every single deal. And this time, the family of Mark Fogel is upset because he remains in a Russian prison. So already making the rounds online, that is, the vice president, and, this happens from time to time, the quote unquote word salad. And I want you to listen to this comment that she made, and you form your own opinion. And we are taking your telephone calls reacting to this. And I'm going to get to the San Francisco story in just a moment. And you can reach me, Dominic Carter, here on the other side of midnight at 646-720-0635. This is Vice President Kamala Harris on the tarmac addressing reporters a short time ago with President Biden.
This is just an extraordinary testament to the importance of having a president who understands the power of diplomacy and understands the strength that rests in understanding the significance of diplomacy and strengthening alliances. This is an incredible day.
Folks, I'm going to let you hear that again. I assure you, Team Trump is going to have a field day with that. They're probably already lining up the commercials as we speak with that soundbite. I want you to listen to it one more time. Vice President Kamala Harris this morning, addressing the media as the freed prisoners arrived on American soil.
This is just an extraordinary testament to the importance of having a president who understands the power of diplomacy and understands the strength that rests in understanding the significance of diplomacy and strengthening alliances. This is an incredible day.
All right, folks, let's begin with your telephone calls. Let's begin here with Norman in Brooklyn, New York, line 2, and then we're going to Jay in Cincinnati, Ohio. Norman, good morning. What's on your mind?
Good morning, Dominic. Okay. My dad was born in Russia. And it was Ukraine. I don't know. It's been a million things, but presently it's Ukraine. But it was Russia when my father was born there. Anyway, I am not sympathetic to these people. Okay, they go over there and do things in violation.
Okay, but wait.
of
When
Russia.
you say these people, are you referring?
Okay, the people that have been arrested by Vladimir Putin. Okay. I am generally, especially the ones that have brought drugs there. I am not sympathetic to that. You gotta know. I'm not enamored by the government of Russia, but before you go, you got to know what the laws are there, and you got to be, And so these people, they get jacked up, they go there in violation of Russian laws, they get arrested, and now America is going to, now Biden and Harris are using this as some form of redemption. Oh, look at what we're doing. We're releasing the Americans here, and we're heroes. You know what? I have very little sympathy for these people. They get arrested there, like as in Brittany Griner. She's bringing hash oil, and I just don't have any sympathy for these people. Before I would go to Russia, and I've never been to Russia, but before I would go to Russia, I would call the State Department or I would call the Russian consulate and ask them, what can I do? What can I not do in your country? Okay. And in general, I'm sick of Americans that go to other countries and crap on their laws. Okay. So this is my opinion. I just don't have much sympathy for these people.
Is it a net gain or a net loss this morning for America as it relates to the swap?
Net loss, because we are now weaker. We've empowered Putin, and he's a net gain for Putin. Okay, Putin has showed that he can get 24 terrorists or weirdos or murderers or whatever the hell he's getting out, and we give them 4 schnooks. Okay, we get back 4 schnooks. Okay, and that's it. Listen, whatever I say about Gershkovich, okay, he's not some sort of
and that's the Wall Street Journal reporter.
Yeah, he doesn't have much importance. Okay, for in America. Okay, he may have importance to the family, he may have importance to the Wall Street Journal, but he's not much importance for our security or anything. And Russia's getting back what? They're getting back terrorists. They're getting back. They're getting back assassins. I mean, they're getting back people. Yeah, and so it's a net gain for Putin. And once again, U.S. loses.
Norman, we thank you for the call on line 2. We are going to take a break. Dominic Carter here on the other side of midnight. When we come back, we're going to Jay in Cincinnati, Silas, Staten Island, New York, and more of your telephone calls on this Friday morning.
The Other Side of Midnight with Frank Morano.
Janine Pirro here for Colonial Metals Group. Colonial Metals Group helps Americans protect their future with the most trusted store of wealth in human history, physical gold and silver. If you're retiring or retired, go to colonialmetalsgroup.com/Pirro for your free Janine Pirro Colonial Metals Group Retirement Protection Kit, or call 800-965-8004. 800-965-8004 now to receive a free home safe and up to $7,500 in free silver.
It's The Other Side of Midnight with Frank Morano.
Mr. Doubleina, Mr. Bob Doubleina, 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 Mr. Doubleina, Mr. Bob Doubleina.
Mr. Doubleina, Mr. Bob Doubleina, Mr. Bob Doubleina, want to quit? You really make me sick with your fraudulent behavior. You're gonna make me flip and then the army couldn't save you. Why don't you behave, you little rugrat? Take a little tip from the tabloid.
And we are back on the other side of midnight. Dominic Carter here with you, taking your telephone calls. The freed prisoners in the Russia swamp arriving on American soil about 2 hours ago. President Biden on the tarmac welcoming them, saluting them, putting his American flag lapel on one of the hostages. Vice President Kamala Harris out there with him as well. And we are taking your calls from around the country. 646-720-0635. Jay, Cincinnati, Ohio. Good morning, Jay. What's on your mind?
Thank you, Dominic. You and Matt and the whole staff at WABC. You're doing a fine job while Frank's out. Joe Biden, it's some political grandstanding and showboating, something he's been good at for 50 years, in my opinion.
Okay, so wait, what are you referring to? You accuse them of showboating, but put that in perspective for me. What's your reference point here?
The timing of the release of the prisoners. You know, they cut deals, and of course it's a sweet deal for Putin, in my opinion. And it's just we're sick of it. You know, you had earlier calls in about people here that are concerned about the price of gasoline, food. Everything's gone up. I'm on a fixed budget. My pension hasn't gone up, and I haven't even applied for Social Security yet. That won't go up. So there are people, and you bring up the topics, the meat and potato topics that the people in this country want to hear, and I appreciate that, Dominic.
Well, you know what, Jay, I appreciate you for stating that. And, you know, it kind of bothers me because the reality for so many Americans across the country, as you just stated, your pension is not going up and you haven't applied for Social Security yet. So that means that you're on a fixed income for the rest of your life. How do you see this election playing out thus far?
The politicians like to tell us what we want to hear. But I can't bring my youth back, Dominic. I was a union carpenter, and before that, I was a residential carpenter. And my hat is off to some of these people that come from up here up south to do all the jobs and the hard work that we don't want to do, okay? But they're doing it, and they're probably not getting any benefits. They're doing it for cash money. And I don't know what the solution is. Dominic, I don't know what the solution is.
So, Jay, I've asked callers from St. Louis and other markets this morning, what are the top issues in your area? And the reason why I like doing this, because you haven't had time to think about it, to prepare about it. You've got to speak off the cuff, off the top of your head. So, Jay, in Cincinnati, in Ohio, what would you say are the top issues? And frankly, are you folks proud of J.D. Vance being on the Republican ticket, your senator?
He knows the issues. He's from the Rust Belt. I've worked at the steel mill. It's a steel mill town that he's from in Middletown, and that's what's kept that town alive. It's a dirty, nasty business. They're going to change that steel mill over to an electric furnace because it's so filthy and dirty. But it provides good jobs. People come from all over the country. I met a guy from Long Island that worked there. They come from all over the world to work there, and thank God for that business. It supplies the steel for all the industries, the automobile industries, all the appliance industries, anything that's made out of sheet metal, it applies to. And thank God for that. And he comes from that, and he knows the problems, the issues. His mother had a drug problem. I've got a younger brother who's got a bad drug problem.
Right. It's impacted. It's impacted every family. Hey, Jay, before I let you go here quickly, what are the top issues in Cincinnati?
The top issues, there's no doubt about it, it's inflation. Inflation, the price of fuel and everything has gone up. And the price of housing is just skyrocketed.
Right.
And
well, Jay,
those are the major issues.
Well, Jay, thank you very much for your wonderful call this morning from Cincinnati, Ohio. We are taking your telephone call, 646-720-0635. In a few minutes, I'm going to brief you on a story out of San Francisco. I don't know exactly where I stand on it. They're going to pay people addicted to drugs $100 a week to stay clean. We're going to hear a report from San Francisco on that. But let's go to Silas on line 4, Staten Island, New York. Good morning, Silas. What's on your mind?
One thing about with the migrants, I know you had asked before why they're bringing the migrants into this country.
Yes.
One of the reasons is because they're dumping them here. They're dumping them here to bring down our society, to bring down our economy. And I don't say that Eric Adams is complicit with it.
The mayor of New York? Go ahead.
I think he's just being used as a useful idiot because that's a weapon that they're using here. The reason we can't take down any other country by dumping our worst and our criminals, because no other country's stupid enough to do what we're doing, is taking them on. And there's another thing I really admire about you, because I lost my father too, but he didn't just leave us, he died from a heart attack.
Well, do me a favor, Silas. Just hold that thought for just 1 second. Folks, you are listening to The Other Side of Midnight, and I'm Dominic Carter filling in for Frank Morano. So, Silas, continue with the point that you were just making. Go right ahead.
Okay. As far as the migrants, when Donald Trump gets back in, praise God, there is a way to start getting them out of here. And they say, oh, you can't deport them all. Well, yes, we can start by this. Each one that becomes a criminal, each one that attacks a cop or tries to murder or kill somebody, take them in jail or out of here. Start with them. And
Agreed.
And then, and that's where we'll start taking them down. But I was saying before, the thing I admired about you was, my motto to the guys I hire is, it ain't where you start out that matters, it's where you end up.
Amen.
Most black people I know have started out poor. Some of them are fabulously rich now, but they started out poor. So never give up. It's the thing I admire about Donald Trump. He doesn't give up. And as far as, getting the migrants out of here, we got to start somewhere. Let's start with the criminals, and then we'll go from there. And the ones that are flying under the radar that aren't bothering anybody, or they're just doing their job, so be it. But the first thing is to get them out of here. And
right.
as far as
Silas, but we'll come back to the soundbite. When you say they're not bothering anybody, that's one side of the coin. But the other side of the coin is that they're draining taxpayer dollars.
Exactly. That's right. That's why I say, you got to get them out. But I would start with the real criminals first. The other soundbite I wanted to give you is Donald Trump hired black and brown people.
Absolutely.
And you were there, so I know that you know about how much he's helped black people. It's not just talk. It's the truth. That's how that man rolls. And he's always been like that. But Donald Trump always hired black people, and Kamala Harris put black people in jail. So that's a soundbite they can use as far as with Kamala Harris.
So, Silas, before I let you go this morning, and this is the other side of midnight, Dominic Carter here with you folks in for Frank Morano. But before I let you go, I've asked callers in St. Louis and Chicago and other places this morning, what are the top issues? What would you say are the top issues?
Top issues is one, the economy. And, people don't understand when we drive the price of oil back down, that drives the price of everything back down. Most people don't realize how many products around us everywhere are derived from oil. So that's got to be driven down. And we've got to stop wasting money, spending money on countries that hate us. You know what? Donald Trump said, why should we give money to countries that hate us? I agree with him. Don't give them a dime. And we got to, so the economy is the thing most important to me, and crime. We've got to bring it down because, like the subways, they talk about they don't have enough money to make things run. Believe me, you bring crime down in the subways, you'll start getting people back in the subways. Believe me.
Well,
and in the streets, we have to be safe in our streets. Like from Lake and Riley to just these guys walking in. You realize San Francisco, they actually made it law that you can't stop somebody who takes something under $1,000. I mean, that's pure insanity. I run a business, so somebody can walk into my place and take something, and I can't stop them. That's insanity. So, and that's the Democrat Party. They've got to go.
Well, you said a lot of things that make a lot of sense, Silas. Thank you so much for the telephone call this morning. And folks, if you are just tuning in, this is the other side of midnight. I'm Dominic Carter in for Frank Morano. So we're taking your telephone calls on a variety of topics up until the top of the hour when my colleague Noam Layden will take over. The big story this morning that is very much ongoing, the freed hostages, prisoners from Russia back on American soil, the president greeting them in Maryland at the Air Force Base as the aircraft arrived, with the vice president standing there with him. And they are back on American soil. But I want to, if you will, switch gears to another story. And by the way, that prisoner swap involved a total of 24 people and 7 countries to pull this off. So they're doing something in San Francisco. And my contention, every American family has been hit by the drug problem, the fentanyl problem. We've all been hit one way or the other. And I've made no bones about it, talking about, my upbringing. And part of my upbringing happened to be my grandfather, and I was proud of my grandfather because when he died, he kicked his addiction to heroin. And when he was on heroin, he did all the things that addicts do, especially to their families. And if you've dealt with this, folks, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The stealing, the going in your purse, the stealing everything in the home that's not locked down, to the point where they hit rock bottom because you ultimately have to keep them out of the house or throw them out of the house. So I understand that real well. What they're doing in San Francisco, it's a program called Cash Not Drugs. And it would give San Francisco residents up to $100 a week for staying clean. And so I'm on the fence on this. I want to hear from you folks throughout the country. Do you think it's a good idea? 646-720-0635. Because what I remember from being a little boy, and I wrote about this in my book, No Mama's Boy, which is about my life growing up with a mentally ill mother, no father in my life, no man ever signed my birth certificate, but yet I'm one of the fortunate ones in this great country because I was able to go from the housing projects to college and on to graduate school for journalism at the world-renowned Newhouse School. And you have the Medill School, I think that's what you call it, in Chicago. That's another top one, but they're up there with Syracuse, the Newhouse School, where I attended. So you folks in Chicago, a shout out to you listening on a WGN. But the program in San Francisco. So the mayor there, London Breed, she is pushing this. And they want to pay welfare recipients $100 a week to stay sober. Now, I guess it will entail testing to make sure that they're sober. But I just don't see how this works. And I want you to listen to a report on this in which addicts, if you will, are interviewed. And I really want to hear your take on this morning, folks, in the time that I have left with you. And please give me a call at 646-720-0635. So this is the CBS affiliate in San Francisco. And I want you to hear the anchor setup, and then we're going to play part of the actual report. But this program in San Francisco, Cash Not Drugs, $100 a week for staying clean under Mayor London Breed.
Tonight, we are hearing from drug users living in San Francisco on a new initiative that could earn them money if they stay sober. It's a new plan that the city hopes will help people stay clean and tackle San Francisco's drug crisis. KTVU's Betty Yu live for us in the studio with more on this proposal and how people dealing with substance abuse feel about it. Betty?
Claudine, this new legislation is called Cash Not Drugs. Tonight, I spoke with people in the Tenderloin and I received mixed reviews on whether it will ultimately work in the long term.
And so that's the anchor setup. And by the way, with our lead story, which we're taking calls on that, the Wall Street Journal has celebrated this morning the release of the journalist after all this time, part of the prisoner swap. The Wall Street Journal reacting to his release from a Russian prison. But I want you to continue to listen to this. This is the situation in San Francisco. Paying people $100 a week, San Francisco residents, to stay clean. Now, I've seen this drug addiction and heroin from when I was a little boy. And one of the things that I write about in my book is the experience where my grandfather took me into a shooting gallery in Harlem, New York. And it scared me to death. It was just like the movies. Dark. People everywhere, white, black, literally shooting up with hypodermic needles. And part of me wanted to say that my grandfather did this to deter me. But the reality is we know that he took me in that building because he had to get a fix. And he couldn't leave me outside on the street. So he took me into the shooting gallery. So a shooting gallery in major cities are abandoned buildings, and they're not as prevalent now. Now the addicts are just out on the street nodding and train stations and so on in Philadelphia. And we went into this abandoned building, and I'm looking at these addicts, and I'm a little boy. But anyway, and we see your calls coming in. We're about to get to them. I want to continue with this report, the CBS affiliate, in which they interview some addicts on whether or not it would work to get them to stay clean if they are paid $100 a week.
Tenderloin resident Salvatore Zucco says he doesn't have to go far to get his hands on fentanyl.
Walk outside my building. Literally, that's it.
I'm curious how difficult it is to stay clean for a week.
For me, near impossible. At least in this neighborhood, living here right now.
It's people like him that the city hopes its new proposal, called Cash Not Drugs, will help.
What do we want? What do we want?
Supervisor Matt Dorsey, a recovering addict himself, introduced the legislation Monday. It would reward eligible people a bonus of up to $100 a week if they test negative for illicit drugs.
A humane and effective approach to San Francisco's drug crisis should also include rewarding good behavior and not just punishing bad behavior.
This program will be available to beneficiaries who have been screened and diagnosed for substance use disorders and referred to treatment under the San Francisco County Adult Assistance Program, known as CAP.
Some of you also know that I lost my sister to a drug overdose. She was down in the streets of the Tenderloin. It was definitely very difficult to get her the help she needs. I want to make it just as easy to get treatment as it is to go out there and buy dope.
Is up to $100 enough?
Maybe not in the long term, but I definitely think it would be a good short-term incentive to make some sort of an effort.
Salvatore said if it's approved, he would sign up for the program. He's currently a CAP recipient who already receives more than $700 in cash assistance per month. Jonathan Broomfield said his drug habit is expensive.
Well, that's why I said $100 would not do it at all. You know, not saying because I'm going to take some of the money and go buy some more drugs with it, but I was just think $100, that ain't.
But $300 will make you think about it.
Yes, it will put me in the door.
Would up to $100 a week incentivize you to quit?
Yeah, it would. Definitely.
So part of me, that's a CBS affiliate in San Francisco, part of me says, how dare you say that we're responsible to pay you to leave drugs alone? But the other part of me says that we're going to deal with it one way or another in terms of the crime, in terms of the public health. So we're going to pay one way or the other. What do you folks think? The number to reach me, 646-720-0635. Jason, Louisville, Kentucky. Good morning, Jason. What's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, buddy? How you doing tonight?
Good. Please go right ahead, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about, the topic at hand with the cash for staying sober. I think it's, in theory, it's a good idea. I think it could easily be exploited. I picture a situation, perhaps the boyfriend is addicted and he's got a couple of girls that stay clean or, a daughter, and they go collect the money, turn it there. It's a good idea in concept. Also in San Francisco, interestingly, you guys are talking about this, watched a documentary not too long ago, and they're actually paying homeless people a lot of money just to be homeless in San Francisco. They interviewed a guy that was making like $500, $600 every 2 weeks just to technically reside, there. And so they got a lot going on. They got the whole, you can go and get your free, what do you call it? The free clean use. They give out, syringes, crack pipes, stuff like that. So I don't know, man. They got a lot going on in San Francisco, as well as what one of the other callers said about, you can't even defend your stores anymore. You see these videos of people that are just walking in and just throwing stuff in the trash bag and walking right out. And, so it's a sad state that things are.
Yes, and Jason, I think you're somewhat on the fence, just like I am. And thank you for the call, Jason, Louisville, Kentucky. You're questioning whether or not this will work. Same sentiment, same feelings that I have. Let's go to Cheryl on KMOX from St. Louis. Good morning, Cheryl. How do you see this issue?
I'm on the fence about it. The reason being is, are they going to send these people through a program first to get them clean before they start this? Because if they don't, it'll never work.
Right. And Cheryl, the reality, right, and I want you to respond. Again, I've seen, heroin use up close. I've seen too many things as a child that I should have never seen. But with addiction, you don't just go, oh, you're going to give me $100 a week so I don't get high anymore. It doesn't work like that. People will do anything. Women sell their bodies, sell their children to get a few dollars to go get high. So you don't believe this will work?
Not until they get them clean. I hate to say this, but unfortunately, I had a stepdaughter who, at the age of 16, was an addict. And her mother called us up and told us to come get her. She didn't want any part of her. And we got her in treatment. She was in there for a month. She also drank along with her other problem. When they felt she was able to leave there, they released her to go back home to her mother. And within 48 hours, she was back in there again.
A revolving door.
Yes. If you don't get the treatment and you can't keep them away from the situation, that $100 a month is just going to continue to buy them more and more and more.
So now, Cheryl, explain to me, and why are you getting emotional right now? Because I hear it in your voice.
Because I saw what it did. I saw what it did, and I saw what kind of a life she had for a while. She's fine now. She's an adult woman, married, and everything else. But I saw what it did then. And I hate to see those kind of things happen to people like that, because a lot of them just have no willpower. They have the desire, but they don't have the willpower, and they need the help to go along with it. And if you can't provide the help, that $100 isn't going to help them. It's just going to provide more drugs.
Cheryl, I feel your pain, and this is a true story. Sometimes I try not to get personal as it relates to people I know, but I had a friend growing up. I won't say his last name. I'll say his first name. His name is Wayne, and we both came up from the hood, and it's the classic story of one did well and the other one went the opposite route. And what I always liked about him, notice I'm talking past tense the same way you did. In my case, the story didn't end well. I lost him about a year ago. He died in Newark, New Jersey, getting high. And what I always respected about him is that my career took off to the skies. And he ended up going from jail to jail, from state to state with a drug addiction. But he never hated on me. And he always wished me the best. And one day, Cheryl, when I was begging him, I would have him to my home, let him do little odds and work, even though the addiction, he couldn't do the work the way he used to. But it was so I would have him more as a friend and give him little assignments for self-esteem. And I would beg him to leave the drugs alone. And one day we were in the car and we got into an argument, and I've known him since I was 14 years old. And he said to me, he got mad, and he said to me, he says, Dom, you know what? When I leave you right now, I'm going to get high. And I'm going to get high because it makes me happy, and that's what I want to do. And fentanyl, in the end, took his life. And so, Cheryl, I understand fully what you're saying, but I do know, Cheryl, that the addiction is horrible for anyone and for the families involved, but in particular for women. It is awful, absolutely awful for what the women have to do to get a few dollars to sustain that high. Cheryl, thank you so much for the call. KMOX in St. Louis. Let's go to David in the Bronx. But what I'm going to do before I go to David and Feliciano and Philip and time permitting, all those calls. First, I'm going to take a break. When we come back, David in the Bronx. This is The Other Side of Midnight. I'm Dominic Carter in for Frank Morano.
The Other Side of Midnight. It's The Other Side of Midnight with Frank Morano.
And we are back. The Other Side of Midnight. San Francisco could offer eligible residents cash to stay sober, $100 a week. David in the Bronx. David, good morning. What's on your mind?
Yes, good morning, Dominic. As you might recall, I was in a New York City homeless shelter for 3 years, and almost everybody in there was addicted to either drugs or alcohol. And most of them belonged to programs where they provided them methadone, and they had to be tested regularly through urine test. Now, I'm sure these people in San Francisco mean well, but I can tell you from my experience that these people will cheat. I had people offer me money for my urine because they knew I didn't take drugs. That's how they get around it. Unless they want to spend a lot of money on actual testing their blood, these people are just going to cheat, and it's not going to work. They're going to take that money and use it to buy more drugs because, as you just said, that addiction is so strong that $100 a week is not enough of an incentive for these people. They're just going to use it to purchase more drugs. I think this is a terrible idea. It really is. And as you know, I'm very liberal. I'm inclined to be sympathetic to people who want to fix these problems, but this is not going to work. It's going to be abused, and more people are going to die. That's how I feel. And I'm told by my personal experience.
And I agree with you, David. Unfortunately, we share the same sentiment that we don't think this is going to work. Thank you for the call. I'm keeping the call short because I only have a few minutes left. Feliciano, Sullivan County, New York. Good morning. What's on your mind?
Yeah, good morning, Dominic. I disagree. I disagree with the program, and I'm talking about personal experience. I'm a recovering addict myself. In 2 days, I'll have 19 years clean.
Congratulations. Okay? Congratulations. So wait a minute. Is it true that an addict has to hit absolute rock bottom and want to get help before they will get help?
Yes. But the first thing they must do is admit that they have a problem in order to get the help they need.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think about this program?
What it is.
What do you think about this program?
The program is not going to work because all they're going to do is become enablers. So how many times am I going to repeat the program to get the money to use before you tell me I'm no longer welcome to come here to get the money to be a part of the program? So you understand what I'm saying? They just making
loud and clear.
Just becoming enablers. That's all they're doing. Because even when I had money, Dominic, I went through the physical feelings of wanting to use. Okay, heroin was my addiction. But when I had money, I had to have somebody who had substantial clean time to go with me, to show me and teach me what to do with my money. Or I would use. You see what I'm saying? So I needed a more experienced member to help me, to show me and guide me with my money until I got better at doing it on my own. So that's not going to work. I'm going to tell you that right from the back. If they're not doing it for themselves, you can't do it for your mother, your kids. You can't do it for nobody but yourself. If you're not doing it for nobody but yourself, for anybody, anything other than yourself, it's not going to work. That's the bottom line.
Wow. But the silver lining in your call is 19 years clean.
Yes, sir. And the greatest reward I could ever receive is to see another recovering addict making meetings and staying clean one day at a time. Because I go around and to hospitals and institutions and therapeutic communities to share my story with them, to let them know if I could do it, they can do it too.
Well, thank you for sharing your story, Feliciano, Sullivan County, New York. And man, we're so proud of you. 19 years clean. That is outstanding. Thank you. Quickly, Philip in Washington Heights, New York. Philip, you've got 30 seconds. Go right ahead, please.
Good evening. I'm 74 years old. I'm 16 years in recovery. I've had people and friends in my family die of this disease. Money cannot force you to go anyplace. It has to come into your heart to finally say to yourself, I can't do this anymore. All the persuasion, all the friends, all the money, all the family, if you're not ready to do it, you're not ready to do it. It's a gift when you finally get that. Thank you for taking my call.
And Philip, thank you, man. 16 years clean. That is wonderful and outstanding. And bless you. And I'm so happy for you and your family. And you keep going, Philip, with positive things. You got this. Folks, have a great day. Coming up, Noam Layton.
Janine Pirro here for Colonial Metals Group. Colonial Metals Group helps Americans protect their future with the most trusted store of wealth in human history, physical gold and silver. If you're retiring or retired, go to colonialmetalsgroup.com/Pirro for your free Janine Pirro Colonial Metals Group Retirement Protection Kit, or call 800-965-8004. 800-965-8004 now to receive a free home safe and up to $7,500 in free silver.